I was finally able to go to the new Epic Universe in Orlando, Florida. After having wanted to go for such a long time, it opened in May. I was finally able to go last month. Let me just say, an incredible experience. Highly recommend you all go to this theme park. It's probably the best park that puts the word theme in theme park that I've ever seen. So I highly recommend going. And I wanted to start this video off with saying that because going to the park is my inspiration for wanting to get back to a series that I did a few months back, which was what if different film studios made their own epic universe. We did Disney and we did Warner Bros. And today we continue the series with what if Netflix created their own epic universe. So welcome to Big Flick Energy, and let's get right into it. And for starters, like I've mentioned for Disney and Warner Bros., this is trying to keep as similar as possible to the epic universe created by Universal. So it's trying to say all these rides are the same types if possible. If I can get creative in any capacity, that's the goal. But for the most part, this is trying to stay as similar as possible to Epic Universe. And I think Netflix is a very interesting one because of how unique you can actually get with the different lands. And for starters, the first land, the comparison for Celestial Park, is the lobby. Now, the park gimmick is that instead of portals like they had for Epic Universe, it's going to be game rooms, similar to Squid Game with interactive games throughout the rooms. So it's going to be very heavily themed to Squid Game. Pretty much the entire park is going to have that premise where it's going to be game rooms dependent on the franchise that you're targeting. But we'll get into that later. But you're going to have Squid Game characters walking through not just the mainland, but all of the lands to really make it feel like an interconnected park that stays on theme. So you're going to have some people that are wearing the classic Squid Game costumes. If they're a member of the actual game, or if they're one of the hosts, or if they're one of the people that wears red. I forgot what they're called, but you know the people I'm talking about. So you're just going to have them walking through the entire park. And in this land, the first thing that we're going to have is Netflix House. So what is Netflix House? Netflix House is actually something that recently came up where they have a different themed house throughout different seasons. And it depends on what's trendy for Netflix. And this is how they've tried pushing it. And I think if you have a larger Netflix park, you can have its own Netflix house as well. So I think it would work perfectly. And moving on from there, the first ride is, instead of Stardust Racers, we have Red Light, Green Light, which is a roller coaster similar to Velocicoaster that will have audio over it that says red light and green light, similar to the robot from Squid Game. The cart is going to be loosely themed, and the character will only be seen at the start and end of the ride with a constant clock through the ride telling you how much time you have left to cross the finish line. Where once you finally are getting close to the finish line, that's when you get hit with LSMs. As I mentioned in the past videos, LSMs are pretty much what just makes your vehicle go ridiculously fast out of nowhere. You get hit with a massive increase in acceleration. Favorite part in any ride, honestly. So we're going to do that here. Moving on from there, instead of Constellation Carousel, is we're going to replace that with The Game, which is a near copy of Squid Game, the experience in New York. So it's pretty much just going to be like an escape room that you do where you're in Squid Game. So pretty much, that. You're in Squid Game in this room. So I think that's going to be a fun ride to do. Or not really a ride, but more so an experience. And moving on from there, instead of the Atlantic, we have VIP Lounge, which is obviously very heavily based on the VIP Lounge from the actual Squid Game Season 1 and Season 3, where towards the end of the game, you have the VIPs that we finally meet, and you see them all having dinner, you see them watching the games. So it's going to be something very similar here. I'm thinking it should be themed to the new space-themed ride in Epcot, where you go to the ride and then all the windows show just space. But instead of doing that here, it's going to be you're eating here and pretty much the walls are showing Squid Game, which I think would be insane. I'm not sure if that would even be allowed, but I think you should push to do it. That would be a lot of fun to see. You would actually sort of be like the VIPs in that situation. After that, instead of the Oaken Star Tavern, we have KBBQ 456, which instead of having a classic American barbecue place, given Squid Game is a Korean show, it's going to be a Korean barbecue instead, and KBBQ 456 because there are 456 players, right? So it's just going to be a standard Korean barbecue restaurant. That would be a lot of fun to see. And now instead of the Blue Dragon Pan Asian restaurant, which is actually the restaurant I went to when I went to the park, I will say it was a good experience. I enjoyed that restaurant. There's a restaurant that I'll get into later that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but instead of the Blue Dragon, we'll do Players Steakhouse, which once again, like we saw towards the season finale of season 1 and season 3, there is a scene where the top players at the end of the show are able to get a very fancy meal, sort of their last meal if they don't win the show. We're just going to have the actual restaurant because honestly the food looked incredible in it. So it's going to be Player Steakhouse. It's going to be an American steakhouse themed to the final meal given to the Squid Game players. After this, we have the restaurant that I did not like at all, Pizza Moon. I think I ordered the wrong thing. All I know is my stomach was killing me for the next week, and that pizza was mid at best, if I'm being honest. But instead of that, we're going to have Lunchbox Station, which is going to be a quick food station that serves a simple box of rice, kimchi, vegetables, and a fried egg. Same as we see in Squid Game, where like whenever they get their meal, that's literally all they get. And honestly, that meal does sound pretty good. I can see you getting tired of it if it's every day. But given this is just a one meal that you get, I think it would be great to do. Moving on from there, instead of Moonship Chocolates and Celestial Sweets, we are going to do Dalgona Sweets. So Dalgona, one of the games that we saw in Squid Game Season 1 was the Dalgona Challenge, where you had to cut a shape out of a cookie. So here it's going to be similar to that, where this is what this place is going to serve. It's going to serve the cookies. It's going to have different Korean sweets and desserts utilizing Dalgona cookies in every way possible. And another thing that is going to be very fun to see here is it's actually going to have the Dalgona challenge that you can do yourself, where if you get the umbrella correct, you get your dessert for free. So you can do the other ones. You can try the triangle, you can try the square, you can try the circle. But if you get the umbrella itself, that's a completely different story. So that would be a lot of fun. I would love to see that happen. There's actually a local place in Plantation, Florida at Broward Mall that serves the Dalgona challenge. I tried it, and I will say I would not have made it past the game. So, yeah. But we continue with the replacement for Nintendo, which is going to be the Nexus Room, which is themed to League of Legends. And I'll be honest, I have not played League of Legends, and a lot of this research was done with ChatGPT, but I will say the TV show that they recently made, Arcane, is what really made me want to put this as a land. Because think about how many people have played League of Legends in the past, and think about how many people have watched Arcane on Netflix. It's probably the most popular animated series they have on the streaming service, except maybe Cocomelon, but we're not going to do a Cocomelon park. And having that character from Arcane lead the charge here, and honestly just having everything from League of Legends, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And you're going to see League of Legends characters walking around the area. So instead of Mario Kart, we're going to have Arcane Rush, which is the game feature of this room. It's going to be a shooter dark ride similar to Men in Black, where you must stabilize Hex Tech portals using arcane blasters. Now, I know I mentioned that it's the game feature of this room, and that's something I forgot to mention before. Given this is supposed to be Squid Game, where there are different games that you do throughout the entire land, you're going to actually come into this park and notice that every single one of the rooms actually has one specific ride or one specific thing that has a game that you have to do, which if you pass that, you're basically moving on through Squid Game. You do get a wristband when you enter the park. If you actually succeed in all of the games, that means you won the show, and you can actually, I don't know what you could get. I really have no idea what you should get. Maybe you get like a $456 credit at the store, but honestly, this Netflix theme park would probably go bankrupt because I feel like a lot of people would start winning that. So maybe not do that. But some sort of reward, let's say $45.60. You get that off at the store, which is going to be able to get you like one shirt. So it's not much, but it's credit, right? It really makes it an interactive experience. And then you do have to succeed in all of them. If you do not succeed, your wristband goes black and you can't use it anymore until the next time that you come back to the park, where you can obviously keep the wristband. So moving on from there, after Arcane Rush, we have the next ride, which is, instead of Yoshi's Adventure, Legends of Runeterra, which is going to be an omni-mover similar to Spaceship Earth, fused with Soarin' at Epcot, throwing through history, but the history of Runeterra instead. And then it goes to modern day, where the Soarin' flyover begins and we see the state of the war of the world today. It's going to be a useful ride, so people who don't know the history of this world can become familiarized with it in this land. Because while I get that League of Legends is extremely popular, if you are somebody that's only seen Arcane, or you're somebody that hasn't even seen Arcane, you're just here for the Netflix theming, you are going to have no idea what's going on in this area, and this theming is not going to be relevant to you. So I think having a ride like this that actually gives a history lesson on the area is going to be huge. Now, moving on from there, we have Battle Arena, which is literally going to be an arena heavily themed to League of Legends. And it's going to allow for people to play League of Legends using AR against each other as a new type of play experience. And it's going to be its own experience. I don't think anything like this has ever been done. And I know that you have like those omni-mover treadmills where you stay in the same spot. Maybe we incorporate that. Otherwise, I just think that it should be an arena where you become part of League of Legends. Considering you're in this area already, make it as realistic as possible. I think that would be so much fun to see. Now, moving on from there, we have the restaurants for this area. And for starters, for the first restaurant for this area, we have The Last Drop, which is the comparison for Toadstool Cafe, which is a small restaurant slash bar themed to the Last Drop bar from Arcane, where drinks on the menu are called potions, which is actually a little more similar to what we see in Darkmoor, or the Dark Universe in Epic Universe, where they have different potions that you can drink that are alcoholic beverages. But the Last Drop here fits very well. And after this, instead of Yoshi's Snack Stand, we have Summoner's Gifts, which is a play on Summoner's Rift, where it's a gift shop with everything League of Legends can offer. Also, if you buy a weapon for a character in the gift shop, it comes with a key card that you can actually use in the battle arena to upgrade your character if the weapon was from that character. So I think it's just going to add a different layer to this that would be a lot of fun to see. And moving on from there, we go to the next area, which instead of Dark Universe, we have Stranger Room, evidently themed to Stranger Things, which is going to have two sections. Similar to Dark Universe, where it has the section themed to the monsters and the section themed to the monster hunters. So Stranger Room, it's going to have two sections, a Hawkins section, which is 80s themed, and an upside down section where upside down monsters walk around and scare you, similar to Halloween Horror Nights, but year round, which would be a lot of fun to see. How excited will people be for a year round Horror Nights? Who knows? But considering how many people went to Horror Nights, because I also went to Horror Nights when I went to Epic Universe, considering how many people were there in the month of August is crazy to me, because you're not even close to Halloween in my opinion at that point. So I think people love being scared by these things. People love theme parks year-round. Why not give a try to having a year-round sort of horror area for this park? And you would be able to do that with the Upside Down. And the first ride is going to be, instead of Monsters Unchained, we have Journey Through the Upside Down, which is a dark ride similar to Monsters Unchained that takes you through the Upside Down as you have to escape it. Let me just say, Monsters Unchained, the animatronics in this ride are some of the most impressive I have ever seen in my life. But moving on from there, we have Drop Across Dimensions, where researchers were able to create a new method of getting a glimpse into the Upside Down. This is in the form of a drop ride that takes you through both the Upside Down and Hawkins. And this would be such a fun ride to do, just for theming. I can already imagine the line and the queue for it. And this is going to be obviously in the Hawkins section, so that eventually when you get to the Upside Down, it's a different story. So would love to see this. And moving on from there, we have, instead of the monster makeup experience, we have the escape experience, where it is the game feature of this room, which is going to be a near copy of Stranger Things The Experience as an immersive escape room / haunted house. For this one, if you do not escape in time, you lose. And for the first one that I mentioned, for the shooter ride themed to Arcane, for that one, you need to be the highest score in your cart or else you lose. So honestly, you can see very quickly that not many people are going to be winning this. But as we continue, we have our first restaurant, which is Benny's Burgers, which is the diner inspired by the restaurant of the same name from Stranger Things. So obviously it's going to have burgers. It's going to be like a classic diner. And moving on from there, we have Scoops Ahoy, which is going to be an ice cream parlor inspired by the restaurant of the same name from Stranger Things. And honestly, even though I am not the biggest fan of Stranger Things, simply because I haven't seen all of it yet, I think this would be a very fun land, and this is probably the biggest thing that speaks of Netflix. But speaking on something else from Netflix that is recently recreated in live action, we have, instead of How to Train Your Dragon, Pirate Room for One Piece. One Piece, incredible anime, everybody knows it, and now giving it its own themed land would work so well for this. I could easily see exactly how they could build this up, and honestly, How to Train Your Dragon, that land, it fits pretty well. I could see a lot of similarities between these two. And it's going to have vibrant pirates walking around, and throughout the land, there are scannable QR codes on treasure chests, which scanning all of them is actually the game of this room. So you have to find all these treasure chests in the area or else you lose. So this is one that you're not going to have your thing deactivated if you don't complete it, but you cannot fully complete all the challenges without completing this one. So who knows how long you're going to be there. But for the rides, instead of Dragon Racer's Alley, we have the Luffy Experience, where it's a slingshot ride themed to Luffy's stretching abilities, which I would love to see this. I'm a huge fan of slingshot rides, and I know a lot of people are scared of them, but I think they should start implementing them in more theme parks. They're so much fun. They're literally a drop ride on steroids. So obviously it works very well with the character Luffy. After this, instead of the Entrainable Dragon show, we have Thousand Sunny Voyage, which is a pirate show that sees the Straw Hats fight against a rival pirate crew while Luffy takes a nap until he comes to save the day in the final moments. Now, how are you going to show Luffy's powers in a show? I have no idea, but that's not my job. So, moving on from there, we have, instead of Hiccup's Wing Glider, Skypea Cloud Coaster, which is a dive coaster that will traverse through smoke to resemble traversing through the clouds in Skypea and falling off the floating island. And then the last ride here, we have Set Sail, which is a ride similar to Pirates of the Caribbean themed to the One Piece ship, the Thousand Sunny. After we finally get to the restaurants, and the one that I'm extremely excited for is Sanji's, which includes multiple of Sanji's greatest dishes seen throughout the series alongside the famous theme park turkey leg. It also serves Sanji's curry and serves sake. And this is a spot that I would definitely be going to. The next restaurant is Takoyaki 8, which is a Japanese street food quick service restaurant inspired by the restaurant of the same name from the show. So it's going to be very heavily themed there, and it works very well here. And then instead of Hooligan's Grog and Gruel, we'll have Hope Cake Cafe, which is a sweet cafe themed to Whole Cake Island, which will include multiple Japanese desserts and sweets also seen in the Whole Cake Island arc of the show. And now, the one that I'm most excited to replace, instead of Harry Potter, we go with the Narnia room, which is obviously themed to Chronicles of Narnia, which is going to have different magical creatures that are just walking around and are just hiding behind bushes. You can see all of them through this area. And I absolutely love the Chronicles of Narnia and would love to see this as a land in a theme park. And for the first ride, instead of Battle at the Ministry, we have War of the White Witch, which will be a puka arm dark ride similar to Battle at the Ministry, setting up a battle against the White Witch as you team up with Aslan and Mr. Tumnus. After, we have Viking Training Camp, which will be replaced by Order of the Lion Training Camp. A little bit of a long name, but it would be fun to see. And it does include an American Ninja Warrior-esque portion that I don't know why I came up with this idea, but if you really want to be a member of the Order of the Lion, I guess you have to know how to actually train correctly. So obviously Viking Training Camp is very heavily themed for kids, and this will also be that, but there is going to be an area for people that want to complete the challenge. They have to do this, because guess what? The American Ninja Warrior-esque portion is actually the game feature of this room. And I actually think having a wall of the winners of the game would be something great to have in the opening room of the Squid Game area where it's called the game. You just have like all the past champions. You can have an area for the past actual Squid Game champions from the show, and then you can have an area of all the champions from the actual park. But moving on from there, instead of Le Cirque Arcanis, we have The First Song, which is going to be a show demonstrating the creation of Narnia. After, we get to the restaurants, and instead of Cosme Acajor Baguette Magique, we have Aslan's Table, which is going to be based off Aslan's Table on Ramandu, which serves assortments of turkey, salmon, pineapples, tomatoes, and other dishes as an all-you-can-eat restaurant similar to Brazilian Steakhouse. Now, having a Brazilian steakhouse, I would love to do it because I love them. But it may be dangerous given people are going on rides and will probably throw up. But given Aslan's Table is supposed to be an all-you-can-eat experience in and of itself, where the food never runs out, I think you have to do it here. Will people throw up? Probably. But it's a risk we have to be willing to take. But after this, we have Cair Paravel Tavern, which is going to be Royal British cuisine, so not fish and chips. It's going to be straight up Royal British. What does Royal British mean? It could include traditional dishes like roast dinners and fish. Apart from this, it can also have some classic foods like coronation chicken, Victoria sponge, and various pies, which are also considered royal staples. And then to close out this land, instead of caramel, we have Winter Delights, which serves hot tea, which is the addictive drink from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which will be similar to a warm butterbeer. It's also going to serve addictive Turkish delights and serve other sweets as well. So, this is the entire area and the entire park for Netflix and their version of Epic Universe. So, a quick recap, we would have 5 lands, which would be themed to Squid Game, Stranger Things, League of Legends, One Piece, and Narnia. What could the 6th be? Who knows? Now that Netflix is trying to buy Warner Bros., that opens up so many opportunities. But we already have a Warner Bros. Video, so I guess we can't do that. But if you do want to hear me talk more about these theme parks, I love making these videos. I actually really enjoy it. and it makes me want to go back to Epic Universe, which once again, great experience. Highly recommend you all go. And I recommend you all eventually go to Netflix at Epic Universe. But with that, thank you for watching this video. Please like and comment down below. Please let me know your thoughts if you think that Netflix should have a theme park theme to Epic Universe. If you would love to see a Squid Game land, a Stranger Things land, a League of Legends land, a One Piece land, a Narnia land. Honestly, just anything about this premise. If you want to see more videos like this, once again, thank you for watching, and see you all next time on Big Flick Energy.